Welcome to the Writing Center's presentation on planning a personal statement. This presentation is useful for writers who are in the beginning stages of writing their personal statement, which is also called a statement of purpose, and who might need guidance for establishing ideas and/or a writing plan. This workshop includes a personal statement overview, helpful outlining strategies, and creating an effective writing schedule for success. In this workshop, we will discuss what a personal statement is, structure the brainstorming and outlining process, review tips for establishing a writing plan, define the conventions for this genre in several disciplines, and apply the statement of purpose format to scholarship essays. Let's get started. Before we dive into how to write a statement of purpose, let's talk about what it really is. First, a statement of purpose can also be called a personal statement, and here we might abbreviate that on the slides as SOP. A personal statement can be several different things: an essay, cover letter, or question response required for academic applications. It presents a story of the applicant's academic motivations and career by describing their ambitions and interests. As the writer of a personal statement, you get the opportunity to demonstrate your unique qualities in your own words, expanding on the information in your resume or CV. Finally, this is also a statement of your future goals. There's some important critical theory out there on personal statements that can be helpful as you think about why you are being asked to write one. According to Brown and Barton, the personal statement is the only place in an application where the applicant can illustrate his or her character in action. So this is your opportunity to advocate for yourself to the selection committee who will be looking over your application. So why is it so hard to write a statement of purpose? Well, unfortunately, according to one scholar, unlike academic genres with relatively rigid structures, few graduate programs offer detailed requirements for personal statement writing, which, combined with the varying expectations held by different graduate programs, creates enormous challenges for writers who have not written one before. It's also a type of writing that we typically don't get taught in school, so we're left to figure it out on our own. It's important to know that there are two kinds of personal statements. The first kind is the general comprehensive. This is a complete but relevant overview of your academic career and achievements. In the general comprehensive, you, not the program, set the theme for the overall paper. Typically, a comprehensive personal statement will be written in the format of an essay or letter, one text that includes everything. On the other hand, you may receive a prompt-based request for a statement of purpose. In this type, you answer one or more guided questions from the institution. In this case, the program assigns the theme. And in a prompt-based statement of purpose, you would write a paragraph or a mini-essay for each question instead of combining all of the information into one cohesive essay like the comprehensive statement. Let's take a look at examples of the instructions and questions for both of these types of personal statements. Though the general comprehensive statement of purpose doesn't often come with a prompt, there's often some guidance for the types of information that programs are generally looking for. We see such instruction here. Explain your interest in this field of study and why you want to continue your studies at a higher level. Describe the qualities that make you a good fit for this program. So if you are faced with a general comprehensive statement and you're unsure about where to start, this cue might be a good bouncing off point for you. Let's take a minute to break down what is being asked of this writer. First, break down the request based on keywords that indicate the overall goals of your statement of purpose. For instance, here, the two keywords highlighted in red, bold font would be explain and describe. So now you know what you need to do. The next step is to look for the kind of content that is expected in your statement of purpose. In black bold font, you can see that you're being asked to explain your interest in the field of study and why you want to continue studying at a higher level. Be sure to check each part of the instructions so that you don't miss any important details. As you can see here, we do have one last thing. The second sentence asks you to describe the qualities that illustrate why this program is a sensible fit for you. So to get started on writing a statement of purpose in response to this guide, you would start to reflect and brainstorm to come up with ideas that relate to each of these points and also see whether and how any of those ideas link to one another. If you have not already, you would also need to do some research on the program to find out what its focus is and what it can offer to you, and why that aligns with your goals or why you would be an asset to them. This expectation implies that the personal statement should be tailored to this specific program. In other words, you would not be able to reuse this statement of purpose for another program because they would offer different things or have different qualities. For many fields, the expectation is that you will tailor your statement of purpose to each program you apply to, but some do not, especially if you are in a pre-professional program. So do check with instructors, counselors, and advisors in your major to make sure you know whether you are expected to write a statement of purpose for every place you wish to apply to or not. Some programs give you a list of specific questions that you are required to answer in your personal statement. They might appear like the questions seen on this slide. You will see that some of the questions here make the same moves that are expected in a general comprehensive statement. However, they target more specific information. We'll break down these moves in later slides, but for now, let's take a closer look at these questions. The first asks the writer why they want to go into this particular field, which is the Air Force Medical Service. The second question gives them a chance to sell themselves through community service activities they are participated in. Like the general comprehensive example we just looked at, the third question asks about the writer's long-term goals. However, the question is more specific because the writer must not only state their goals, but also describe how this particular program is going to provide knowledge, skills, or something else that will help the writer achieve those goals. After that, they're asked to sell themselves on why they should be selected and what they have to offer. Keep in mind that the last question has two parts, so always pay attention to each requirement. The responses to these prompt-based questions will likely be shorter in length because each one is only focused on one particular theme instead of being all connected together. In the same way as you did for the general comprehensive statement of purpose, you will want to begin by reflecting and brainstorming on each of these questions. But here you don't need to draw links across information for each question. So let's talk a little bit more about getting started with writing your statement of purpose. To get you thinking about what you want to write, here are some essential questions to stimulate the brainstorming process. First, you should ask yourself, why am I applying? What makes me interested in this subject matter, and why is this school a place for me? After that, you should also consider, what qualities do I want to demonstrate? What makes me a good fit for this position? It's ideal if you can include around 2 or 3 different qualities that make you the best candidate for the program. Anything more than this might hinder your ability to fully demonstrate and explain your skills throughout the rest of the statement. Knowing what qualities you want to highlight will then help you identify the types of experiences that shaped them. When choosing what experiences you want to write about, try to recall specific events that have shown your growth through effort over time. This means telling your reader about any skills that you've developed with practice over time or any obstacles that you've overcome. It will not only show what contributes to your own uniqueness, but it will also show your eligibility and determination for what you are pursuing. Finally, you should ask yourself, how does this opportunity achieve my long-term goals? What are my ultimate plans for the future? Since these are pretty loaded questions, that can seem daunting. A great idea for thinking about your future goals is identifying any gaps in the subject or the industry and highlighting the plans you have concerning them. You can also look inward at the things you want to accomplish yourself and build upon those. We recommend pausing the video and taking some time to write down your responses to these questions now, or taking a screenshot to brainstorm with later. Keep in mind that often the first things you think of might not necessarily be the very best examples to use in your statement of purpose. So take several hours or days to replay these questions in the back of your mind, and as ideas pop into your head, jot them down so you don't forget them. Regardless of whether you are tasked with writing a general comprehensive statement or a prompt-based statement, Many of the themes in the questions on the previous slide will be included, so taking some time to fully think through them before the deadline can be very beneficial. Of course, each individual program or your discipline's conventions might impact what else is included, so do not ignore any other directions you are provided. Once you've given some thought to what you want to write about in your statement, it's good to create an outline that guides you through the drafting process. However, the structure and organization of your statement of purpose will be dependent upon which type of statement you are asked to write. A general comprehensive statement of purpose is typically written as either a letter or an essay. Both will be one cohesive text that covers everything you need to say in it. On the other hand, a prompt-based statement of purpose is written in more of a question and answer format. You will write a paragraph, or maybe two, in response to each question. Either way, you should try to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. It's just that in a general comprehensive statement, those might be entire paragraphs, whereas in the prompt-based statement, those might only be sentences. Let's take a look at some ways to outline your introduction, body, and conclusion. Some things to include in an introduction for both types of statements of purpose are an interesting hook to engage the reader and a clear thesis that answers the prompt or sets the theme of the rest of your statement. That helps the reader know you are going to cover the necessary information, and it helps you to stay on topic, to know what it is you're trying to write about. In a general comprehensive statement, you will probably also state your intentions for participating in this program or discipline. However, keep in mind that some disciplines do not ask you to write individual statements for every program. The body of a prompt-based statement of purpose will be determined solely by the question or questions you have to answer. So you will focus on the information that fully answers what the program asks. In a general comprehensive statement, many writers choose to describe their education and work experience in the body. These are the relevant, impactful events that have shaped your values and goals. Other things to include in your statement body are your qualities and how they contribute to the specific program or discipline, as well as your credentials. Regardless of the type of statement of purpose you are writing, remember that it is not simply a reiteration of the lines of your CV or resume, but rather a deeper description of how these experiences have strengthened your skills and shaped your goals. Then comes the conclusion. Here, you will likely try to draw connections among what you have written through the introduction and body sections. As mentioned previously, the content of a conclusion for a prompt-based statement of purpose is dependent upon the question or questions asked. However, likely one or more of the questions will focus on the topics laid out here. And with a general comprehensive statement of purpose, some points you might want to include are a reiteration of how your qualities make you the perfect candidate, an expression of your enthusiasm for this opportunity, and your long-term goals that point to the future. Linking all of those together help you portray yourself as a well-rounded candidate. What you see here are some general tips for the planning stages of writing your statement of purpose. First, do everything asked of you in the instructions. A lot of people might be applying to this program. You do not want your statement of purpose to be tossed onto the trash pile simply because you did not do what they asked. For prompt-based questions, remember that the prompt is your blueprint, so be sure that you're hitting each requirement and structuring your essay in a way that models the prompt. Next, be clear about your goals. Being clear will help you produce a more focused and competent essay that is personalized to you and really shows off your knowledge, skills, and experience. On this note, unless you are in a field where you only write one personal statement for all programs, you need to research the program before writing. This research helps you link your goals and qualities to the focus of the program and the courses it offers. Doing research will also help you adjust your skills and experiences to align with the needs of the program. Lastly, choose skills and experiences that promote your character and make you more valuable as a candidate. While it is okay to mention obstacles and setbacks in your career, redirect them into a more positive light, such as demonstrating what you've learned and how you've changed for the better because of those. If you think you will be unable to do this, then don't choose that experience. Write about something else. After creating an outline for your statement, it is highly recommended that you also develop a writing plan for how you will manage your time. Some good strategies to achieve this are listed here. First, set reasonable, measurable goals. Figure out a reasonable number of places to apply to. Know when your deadlines are, and prioritize what you need to do when. It's best to divide up larger tasks into smaller ones. Don't set the goal, complete personal statement for UNLV by Tuesday. There's a lot of work involved in that. Instead, make your goal, by tomorrow, research UNLV's and UNR's programs and take notes on how their course offerings match my future career path. That is something that is a lot more manageable to do in a short amount of time, and you know when you're finished and can move on to the next thing. Next, divide and conquer. Don't try to do your research, draft your statement of purpose, revise it, and submit it all in one afternoon. Even if you are in a program where you have to only write one statement, it's a good idea to take your time with it and have multiple people read it to give you feedback. And if you do need to write multiple statements of purpose, look over the instructions for all of the statements of purpose you plan to write and note what instructions overlap. Then you can focus on brainstorming and listing all of your ideas related to that topic. For instance, if you are applying to 6 programs, you might find that 5 of them ask about your future goals. So take some time to draft a master paragraph where you discuss your goals. Then it's easier to take that and adapt it to each of those 5 statements of purpose. Next, create a set of ordered tasks. Writing an okay statement of purpose doesn't take very long, but writing a great statement of purpose takes a lot more time than you might think. Make sure you know what all of your tasks are that you need to accomplish, and don't forget things like formatting the statement in a way that the particular program wants it, whether as a letter or an essay, single or double spaced, saved as a Microsoft Word document or a PDF, and so on. Also, don't forget the time it takes to actually submit the application. Many universities have their own online submission portals that ask you to fill out individual text blocks with biographical and educational experience. Sometimes these can take an hour or more to complete. You might also prioritize which programs you are most interested in. It's unlikely that writing your statement of purpose is the only thing you have to do today or even this week. You might discover that you do not have enough time to apply to every program on your list. So know which ones you absolutely must apply to and which ones you might be able to let go. And finally, select times and dates to work on your statement of purpose and stick to them. As mentioned, there is a lot of work involved in writing one, and you will likely be gathering other application materials at the same time, along with keeping up with your current coursework and jobs. It is crucial to allocate enough time for yourself to write while also knowing when to take restful mental breaks. Before we look at some of the unique criteria that certain disciplines have for their statements of purpose, let's talk about the typical moves we can see in pretty much all statements, regardless of what field you are in. The first is one we have actually mentioned, writing an introduction. The introduction gives you a chance to introduce yourself, your career, and your academic goals. The second typical move found in statement of purpose writing is discussing any relevant background and establishing credentials that you have. This can include any skills and experiences that promote your character. The third typical move for a good personal statement is to include reasons for applying, which is often placed in the conclusion. The conclusion can also be a time to return to the theme you've produced in the rest of your document. It is the last time that you can advocate for yourself. Finally, there's an optional fourth move, in which you should list any extracurriculars and career goals. All of this information through all of these moves should be tied back to why you, as an applicant, should be selected for the program you're applying to. The next few slides are going to look at some of the specific information that needs to be included in statements of purpose for fields within engineering, science and medicine, business, the humanities, and the social sciences. Please check the timestamps in the video description below to skip ahead to the slides that cover your particular field. First, let's examine engineering. For a personal statement regarding an engineering application, you need to self-promote, or describe your previous research experience. This experience should be an essential focus of the statement because most likely the program you are applying to will ask further research from you. Also included on this slide are a list of keyword suggestions. As you can see here, the keywords for engineering are research, knowledge, and design. What this means is that the selection committee is going to be looking for these keywords and how each applicant writes about their experiences and skills related to each. Finally, the engineering statement of purpose should also detail experience as well as technical skills that will be useful for that research. As for the 4 major moves we discussed in the last slide, in the introduction you should focus on an attention-grabbing hook as well as future career goals. To establish your credentials, you should talk about your education and their research work or volunteer experience that relates to the program. When discussing your reasons for applying, describe specific details about the program or university as well as your greater understanding of the discipline and the expectations of research within that to be able to tailor your goals to the program. Finally, in the conclusion, the most important aspect is self-evaluation. What makes you the best fit for that particular program? In fields within science and medicine, the writer should start with self-promotion, which means discussing your previous research experience. This experience should be an essential focus of the statement because most likely the program you are applying to will ask further research from you. Also included on this slide are a list of keyword suggestions. As you can see here, the keywords for science and medicine are research, knowledge, study, and project. What this means is that the selection committee is going to be looking for these keywords and how each applicant both describes and evaluates their experiences, technical skills, and milestones. So keep in mind listing what you have done is not enough. You have to critique your skills and how you have developed over time. You should know that often statements of purpose for medical and other professional programs are not tailored for specific programs. Instead, you will write one statement of purpose that goes into a database that is used to apply to all programs. If you are a student in one of UNLV's pre-professional programs, talk to one of the staff members in the Pre-Professional Advising Center to make sure you know exactly how to tailor your statement. One important thing to note in science and medicine fields is that residency directors tend to judge applicants after only reading the opening paragraph. What that means is that if your hook and introduction paragraph isn't interesting enough to the selection committee, or that they don't cover the information that the committee wants to know, they're not going to read any further. That makes the introduction paragraph the most important paragraph for you to focus on. To establish your credentials, focus on your education, work experience, and personal qualities as assets. As you write about your reasons for applying, focus on your work in the discipline, so your classes and projects in your major and related courses, as well as any research you've done. And finally, in the conclusion, the most important thing to focus on is your future goals. What do you plan to do with this educational opportunity? In personal statements for business fields, the applicant should promote themselves by writing about how their unique sociocultural backgrounds contribute to their future career. Also included on this slide are a list of keyword suggestions. As you can see here, the keywords for business are management and finance. What this means is that the selection committee is going to be looking for these keywords and how each applicant connects their backgrounds to these topics. The writer's cultural and linguistic backgrounds are also often discussed, as these will be assets to them in their future work. An applicant should consider social and cultural issues that inspired them to pursue their study. In other words, answer, what is happening regionally or around the world that inspires you to choose this particular area of study? The most important information to include in the introduction are any educational and career goals you have and your decision to apply to this particular program. You will establish your credentials by describing your education and work experience. And then you will begin to make connections as you link your reasons for applying to the positive gains you will have from working in this program and university. As we said before, this means further research into the university for more program details. And finally, in the conclusion for a business statement of purpose, you will continue to make connections across your paper by highlighting your future goals. For the humanities, which can include art, history, music, and theater, the writer of a statement of purpose often should promote themselves by discussing how their unique sociocultural backgrounds can contribute to their future goals. Also included on this slide are a list of keyword suggestions. As you can see here, the keywords for humanities fields are language, culture, and literature. What this means is that the selection committee is going to be looking for these keywords as the writer details their cultural and linguistic backgrounds and explains how their education and training provides research skills and inspiration. In other words, they must consider the question, what in your previous education gives you the skills to participate in this program? This kind of statement also considers the social and cultural focus that inspires the applicant to pursue further study. The most important focus of the introduction of a humanities statement of purpose is the background. The introduction should give context to the rest of the information that follows, such as any information extracted from a CV that needs to be described in more depth. To establish credentials in humanities statements of purpose, you should focus on your education and work experience. And then you will begin to make connections as you link your reasons for applying to the positive gains you will have from working in this particular program and university. As we said before, this means further research into the university for more program details. The conclusion is your last time to sell yourself to the selection committee, so go for the gold in this moment. Finally, we have the statement of purpose for social sciences. This can include fields like law, sociology, psychology, public policy, and economics. The writer of a statement of purpose often should promote themselves by discussing how their unique sociocultural backgrounds can contribute to their future goals. Also included on this slide are a list of keyword suggestions. As you can see here, the keywords for social science disciplines are social, research, media, and communication. What this means is that the selection committee is going to be looking for these keywords as the writer details their relevant cultural and linguistic backgrounds and describes their previous education and training. This kind of statement also considers the social and cultural focus that inspired the applicant to pursue further study. The introduction of a statement of purpose in social science fields should give context to the rest of the information that follows, such as any details extracted from a CV that needs to be described in more depth. To establish credentials, you should focus on your education and work experience, and then you will begin to make connections as you link your reasons for applying to the positive gains you will have from working in this particular program and university. As we said before, this means further research into the university for more program details. The conclusion is your last time to sell yourself to the selection committee, so go for the gold in this moment. One last note is that you may work on something called a scholarship essay. Writing a scholarship essay is very similar to writing a statement of purpose. Aside from using the 4 typical moves in a statement of purpose, some questions when planning to write a scholarship essay are: who is the audience? What details are required? What is the word or page limit? Do they need specific evidence? Are there specific formatting rules? What tone are they looking for? And finally, what is the writer's purpose versus the reader's purpose? Paying attention to each of these questions and the situation in which you're writing can help you adapt the information about writing personal statements to your scholarship essay. We know that we've covered quite a lot of information in this workshop on personal statements. However, there's always more information out there. Do check out our other workshop on revising, editing, and proofreading personal statements. We'll include a link to that below in the video description. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or corrections for any of the materials presented, please contact the Writing Center at writingcenter@unlv.edu, and we'll get your questions answered or take feedback on how we can improve. In particular, if you feel like there's information that's relevant to your particular discipline that didn't get covered that we should know about, we'd like to know. Please share it. We are currently holding synchronous virtual consultations through Google Meet and are offering an asynchronous online writing lab, or OWL. To schedule a 30-minute virtual consultation, call us at 702-895-3908 or visit MyUNLV to schedule an appointment at least 3 hours in advance of the time that you'd like the session. For instructions on how to book online, visit the virtual consultations page on our website. Once the appointment is scheduled, you will receive 2 emails. The first confirms the day and time of your appointment and includes a link for you to fill out information about what you want help with. Then the second will include the link to the Google Meet event so that you can connect with your consultant. We hold consultations Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. To submit a paper to the OWL, you can find all of the instructions on our website. OWLs are returned to the writers at 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Mondays through Fridays, and at 1 p.m. on Sundays. Consultants have 24 hours to review your submission, so you typically will have the feedback the day after you submit, unless your submission was in the evening or over the weekend, in which case it will take a bit longer. You can learn more about all of these offerings and others on our website, and if you are registered with the DRC, contact them to find out if we can offer you any accommodations. Sometimes you are working on a project where you have one quick question that isn't worth you scheduling an entire consultation to deal with. If you have a question that can be answered in 10 minutes or less, contact us with it via email or Google Chat at writingcenter@unlv.edu. Give us a call at 702-895-3908 or stop by our main office on days that we're open. We typically respond in less than 20 minutes. Check out our website at writingcenter.unlv.edu to access the most up-to-date information on our hours, download a variety of handouts covering formatting, style, and grammar topics, access our online writing lab, and find information on how to schedule consultations. On our website, you'll also find other workshops like the one you just watched, as well as a schedule for any in-person and synchronous remote workshops we may offer. A link to our website is included in the video description. For the latest information on Writing Center happenings, like us on social media. There, you'll find writing advice from our consultants, motivation to help you keep moving your writing forward, announcements about Writing Center and UNLV campus events, and much more. We look forward to working with you in the Writing Center. Happy writing!